G'day, I'm DK.
And I'm Ardeet.
Thanks for joining us for this week's Two Ticks Town Talk, a segment from the Australia Talks podcast.
Yeah, this is one of our favourite parts of bringing the podcast to you, our listeners.
So please enjoy this segment from the regular podcast.
I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere, man. Across the desert, fair man. I've breathed the mountain air, man.
All right, this week's Two Ticks Town Talk, we go to a place that I've been to a number of times, but I've never really known much of the history. And this is also somewhere, if you're listening to this as we've recorded it, I just went there this weekend. So this week's Two Ticks Town Talk is a town of Rainbow Beach in southeast Queensland.
Okay.
Beloved by surfers, nature, and four-wheel drive enthusiasts, Rainbow Beach is 239 kilometres or 150 miles from the Queensland state's capital of Brisbane and approximately 75 kilometres by road from the nearest major town of Gympie. It is a popular tourist destination, both in its own right and as the southern gateway to Gari, which is Fraser Island, via the Inskip Point Ferry. The name of the town is derived from the the rainbow-coloured, it's yellow, pink, bit of darker shades. It's not a full rainbow, but it is very impressive.
Really? It's actually coloured like you like unprompted. If you blindfolded me and took me to an unknown location again, and that was where it was, and I would jump out, I would look and say, "Look at all this bloody coloured sand."
Yeah, so the colours in different areas are sort of pinky, white, like a black, yellow, like more yellow, like a clay yellow, not like a normal sand yellow. Obviously, like a normal kind of sandy beige colour, oranges. So it very much, it's not a full rainbow, but it is multicolored. It is quite impressive to see.
Wow.
So the cliffs along the shoreline there are built up of these various different layers of different colors, hence the name. So the mineral-rich sands include rutile, ilmenite, zircon, and monazite. So amongst other chemicals as well. So the Cooloola section of the Great Sandy National Park borders the town to the south, and we will focus on the Cooloola section, which is where I spent my weekend. There are a number of walking tracks through the national park, which do depart from the southern outskirts of the Rainbow Beach Township, and that includes the northern end of the Cooloola Great Walk, which I haven't done the full Great Walk, but I have done parts of it, and I can tell you now it is exceptional. If you are a bit of like a good hike, like a good walk through the rainforest, it's absolutely stunning and well worth your time. So let's start as always with a bit of history. And unfortunately, there's not a lot of good history here. So strap it. Much of the pre-European history of the area has been lost, but we can piece together some bits and pieces of interest. For a great part of its history, Cooloola was part of the beloved territory of the Gubbi Gubbi Aboriginal tribe. The territory also includes the scrub-covered hills of the Blackall Ranges and the majestic Kin Scrubs and the scenic and productive coastal zone. Their territory embraced virtually all of what is now the Sunshine Coast and the Cooloola Coast and parts of the very southern parts of Fraser Island. The land is rich and productive, and on the Blackall Ranges, they held their bunya nut festivals. On the coasts, they would have these big festivals where people would come from all over to share bunya nuts and spend time and share stories and sing songs and all this cool stuff. On On the coasts and in the shallow lakes of Cooloola they lived on rich fisheries. The abundance of fruit and game and the very mild climate combined with glorious panoramic scenery gave them one of the most productive and densely populated territories and one of the most idyllic existences of any of the Australian Aboriginal communities. It is small wonder that they were fiercely possessive of the area and hostile, openly hostile to any intruders to their territory, whether they be other Aboriginal people or the settlers that came after. The Butchulla people that primarily lived on Fraser Island and parts of the coast to the north, and the Aboriginals of the Kenilworth region both reported to early settlers the hostility they encountered from the coastal Gubbi Gubbi people. The hinterland brethren from the Mary Valley further to the southwest actually famished during a drought because they dared not cross the Blackall Range to the rich food and freshwater resources of the coast. Wow. Yeah, because they knew that the Gubbi Gubbi people would not take kindly to their incursion. Unfortunately, very little of their culture and the history of them as a group has been recorded, mostly because of the white settlers that basically disapproved of their indigenous lifestyle. We've seen this repeated many times. And within 60 years of the culture of the Gubbi Gubbi was in turn degraded, debased, detribalized, if you like, and was basically destroyed in an era of ugly, unrecorded history. Unfortunately, a lot of the settlers didn't even record what happened. There were several massacres of dozens of Aboriginal people in the area they weren't even really recorded. It's just they were sort of remembered, and then that oral history's been continued. There was an event, a massacre at what is now called Murdering Creek. One guess as to why. In 1894, there were 700 known Aboriginal people in the area, and 10 years later, there were none. So I think that kind of shows you how quickly they dispatched the Aboriginal people in the area. Now that really all remains place of these people is some place names, and of course their marks in shell middens, canoe trees, gunya trees, and other rare anthropological relics of essentially a lost group of people. Though thankfully we did retain some history and culture, and one of which I can share with you now, and that is the Rainbow Beach Coloured Sands legend. So according to Aboriginal Dreamtime, the legend goes as follows. A beautiful black maiden by the name of Mirawa lived on the banks of the Noosa River. Mirawa fell in love with the rainbow which came to visit her every morning when she clapped her hands and sang to her lovely rainbow. One day, Burrawilla, a wicked tribesman, stole Mirawa to be his slave, and Mirawa worked all day while Burrawilla sat in the shade admiring his evil-spirited killing boomerang. His boomerang was larger than the largest trees in all of the forests. After some time, Mirawa managed to run away, running along the beach as fast as her legs could carry her, and Burrawilla's boomerang was chasing her, and so she called out for help as she fell to the ground, too frightened to run. Suddenly, a loud noise from the sky saw Mirawa's faithful rainbow racing towards her across the sea. The evil-spirited boomerang attacked the brave rainbow, and they met with a thunderous roar and a clap of thunder, killing the boomerang and shattering the rainbow into thousands of little pieces. As the coloured pieces of the rainbow landed on the beach, the sand dunes magically transformed themselves into the coloured sands that are still there today. I like that story. It's fun.
Yeah.
So the town of Rainbow Beach that still exists is actually relatively new. It was only gazetted as late as 1969 when it was first established to service the local sand mining industry. Those beautiful coloured sands hold some very precious elements. So naturally, we wanted to dig them up. Until that time, until the late 1960s, there actually wasn't even a formal road into what is now referred to as Rainbow Beach, the only access being via boat from Tin Can Bay. Sand mining ceased in 1976, and it has become a rather quiet and idyllic holiday, fishing and retirement getaway, which promotes itself not only as the gateway to Fraser Island, but also an eco-tourism destination. In 1967, a fella called Gordon Elmer built a ferro cement barge in one of his paddocks at his farm at Arramore, which is to the west of this area. He named his barge the Fraser Dawn, while his neighbours doubted that the barge would even float in 1967. He proved them all wrong. He took his barge to Tin Can Bay, where it passed the harbour and marine inspection, and he launched his vessel into the water there. This barge became the very first ferry transportation service from Inskip Point to Gari, or Fraser Island. The ferry service was so popular that he proceeded to have 5 more barges built.
Wow, good on him.
Yeah. Some of them were built in Gympie, while others were built in the northern town of Maryborough. He operated these barges for the rest of his working life until he retired and he sold the business. I don't know exactly when that happened. I couldn't find a date. But a ferry service does run to this day, and it is the easiest point to access Fraser Island from the south. So for many of you that are listening, odds are you are south of this area. So when you do come up, if you do want to go to Fraser, generally speaking, you'll cross over at Inskip. For 2 reasons. 1, it's much, much closer than going further north to cross over. And 2, it's actually quite a short distance for the ferry. And as a result, it's slightly cheaper. So,
and presumably you can whack your car on there.
Yes, so it is a car ferry, roll on, roll off ferry. It generally, well, it's more like a barge, I should say. It's not a huge vessel. And the Inskip ferry, generally you don't have to book. It's basically just get in a line and we'll run it all day and taking
literally ferry you across.
Yeah, literally. Yeah. The line, though, be warned, can be like in some cases can actually end up being more than a day's wait to get on it. But to be fair, if you're going over to Fraser to spend a week or so over there, you probably got all the gear you need to camp at Inskip Point. There's a couple of awesome camping sites in the area. I can think of worse places to be stuck for a day or two. But just be mindful, when you are planning your trip, this is something you need to consider. I think a lot of people do get caught out because they kind of go, if you do go further north, you can book a spot on the ferry, guaranteed on the day and all of that kind of stuff. So if you're on a strict timeline, it's probably better to keep going further north. So today, Rainbow Beach is very much a laid-back tourist beach town. Fishing, surfing, and beach driving are very much the items of the day. It's not really much else to do. A true representation of the vast landscape of Queensland's stunning coastline. You can sink your feet into golden sands of the Carlo sand blow, hike through the subtropical rainforest fringing the dunes, or explore the rainbow hues of the beachside cliffs. If you want to explore further, you can switch the bitumen for 4x4 off-road adventure along the Great Beach Drive, and you can take the beach highway from Rainbow Beach over to Inskip Point, which is the gateway to Fraser Island, as previously mentioned. Go at your own pace and set up camp along the shore of the Great Beach Drive. There's some excellent camping spots on the beach where you can wake up to the sound of waves, throw a line in, or catch a wave from your front yard. just be mindful that there are quite a number of very hungry sharks that live in the area. So just, something to keep in the back of your mind.
Is there any no crocs down there? Or it's too far south?
Generally not too far south. It's not unknown though. They have been seen, but it's pretty rare. It's not really something you need to keep in the back of your mind. Particularly if you're there in winter, I would say absolutely almost zero risk of encountering a croc. If you're there in summer, it could happen, but it'll be a single one. Again, not really something.
And usually the sharks have eaten them, so
yeah, that's right. To be honest, they probably wouldn't be so much on the beach. They'd probably be more in the estuaries in the surrounding parks. So. There are a bunch of accommodations options in town. If you don't want to do the 4x4 stuff, you can consider taking a day trip along the beach. If you do want to take in the unspoiled part of the coastline paradise, you can even do it by horseback if you so choose. But there are a number of resorts and things like that in the town. So if you do want to immerse yourself in all that Mother Nature that has to offer in this stunning region, strap on your hiking boots and take some time to explore the vast Cooloola coastline during your walk along the Cooloola Great Walk. As mentioned before, really beautiful, worth the hike. Especially if you're staying there for a couple of days, I think you've got no good reason not to. But of course, only accessible by four-wheel drive adventure all the way around the coast headline to Double Island Point, where you can kayak with dolphins, swim in the protected northern beaches, or hike the summit to the lighthouse, which was built in 1884 and now operates on solar power and is like digitally controlled. So you won't find some weirdo lighthouse keeper, but a bit of a fun day trip to go up there.
Which might be disappointing to a lot of people. There's no lighthouse.
Yeah. Hey, look, you could do that. It'd be the change you want to see in the world. You can become the lighthouse keeper.
You could too. Just pretend you've come out of the door and welcome to my lighthouse. And can't let you in for safety reasons, but what do you want to know?
Exactly. So, from incredible freshwater lakes and rivers to sand blows, there is something to see and marvel at from the water or the shore. If you're in southeast Queensland and you want a nice little getaway, you could do a lot worse than heading to Rainbow Beach and the Cooloola coast. And I, for one, will be definitely back in the near future. I need to go to the lighthouse. I've never actually been there. So that's definitely on my list of places to get to. Another day.
You got to take a hat and a pipe and a fake moustache just in case.
Put my cranky pants on, start yelling at all the young people.
That sounds idyllic. That sounds like a great spot.
Yeah, I am very lucky that it is reasonably close. This is a couple of hours away, but it's close enough that we can sort of do a day trip there and back, or spend a couple of days. The only thing I would say is if you are going to come to the Great Sandy National Park, Rainbow Beach, Cooloola Coast area, just be mindful that particularly during school holidays, it does get quite busy. We are only a couple of hours out of Brisbane and certainly closer to the Sunshine Coast, which is a very populated area of southeast Queensland. So you've sort of got this incredibly beautiful part of the world, very, very close to a major population center. So it is very, very popular with people and weekenders and stuff like that. So look, I'm not saying don't go. Absolutely do. Get out there and enjoy the place, but just be mindful that you're not going to have the place to yourself, basically. Which is fine. I think a lot of people don't quite expect that.
Well, I suppose too, if you've got kids and school holidays, you just accept that that's part and parcel of it. But
yes.
It sounds like there's enough. It sounds like there's enough room that you're not going to feel crowded, though. Probably on some of those things like the lighthouse, you might. And also I don't understand how they hold the would hold the oars. The kayaking with dolphins sounds interesting as well.
Yes. They're very clever dolphins. They've been learning well. So, and the nearby Tin Can Bay, which is sort of outside the scope of this, but the nearby Tin Can Bay does very famously have dolphin feeding at the boat ramp. The dolphins are semi-tame, and they come up to the boat ramp. I think it's every day. And expect the fishermen to feed them, and it's sort of it's a whole thing. I'm sort of torn on it because I do feel like it's probably not super great, but at the same time it's kind of unique and cool. So it's about a 25 minute drive from Rainbow Beach. So if you are in Rainbow Beach, you may as well just go over there for a bit of an afternoon. Yeah. As the crow flies, it's actually really close, but there is a river in between, so you sort of have to go backtrack and go around. So, but yeah, and there is a big 4 there as well in Rainbow Beach. So if you want, a nice big holiday resort, if you're one of those sorts of people with lots of amenities and all that kind of stuff, there really is something for everyone in this area. So
wow,
to get up
very
here.
Interesting. Yeah. It sounds like and it sounds too with because I'm assuming they're allowing some of the sand mining with all those. As soon as you said that with the minerals, and I thought, of course, that's why I should have. That should have clicked with me as to why you had those colours. But that can be good for the area because sand mining can be done in a fairly sensitive manner.
I'm not sure if they're doing it anymore. I've not seen any evidence of the continued mining of it. But I could be wrong. There could be a very small scale sort of facility or something like that. But if there is, it's not significant. But yeah, I mean, look, the sand mining I don't think's great, but it did give us access to this area that otherwise we just wouldn't have been able to get into, which I am grateful for because it is a pretty awesome area. So,
Oh, very good, very interesting, and you've been there.
And I've been there. That's one. I can tick one off.